Just a quick few things to know before we start this video. Number one, this video will contain loud sounds considering it has a Canadian Emergency Alert Service. And also, this video will contain valid Emergency Alert Service tones. Please do not play any of these tones in public as it will cause panic. I am not responsible for any damages caused from this video. And without no further ado, let's get into it. The year is 2015, and a lot is happening in Canada. Justin Trudeau would become the 23rd Prime Minister. Target would announce that they would be leaving Canadian markets, and the national flag of Canada became 50. But just before the beginning of April 2015, Canada would launch its nationwide emergency alert system. That being Let's start off in the year of 1992, when Alberta introduces their emergency alert system, the EPWS, or the Emergency Public Warning System. At the time, Alberta was the only province in Canada to have an emergency alert system. No other province had an emergency alert system. The system would be replaced in 2011 with the AEA, or the Alberta Emergency Alert, but we'll show that later. But people wanted a nationwide emergency alert system in Canada, but one company wanted it the most. That company being Palmorix, which owns the Weather Network and, I don't know how to pronounce it, I'm going to try my best, Meteo Media? I don't know. In 2001, Palmorix would apply to the Canadian Radio, Television, and Telecommunications Commission, or the CRTC, asking for an amendment to have an all-channel alert system that would require television providers to relay emergency alerts on behalf of the government across all channels. This would be denied, though, citing that they would need consultation with broadcasters and TV providers, with also other parties, on how the system would be designed, along with other concerns. In 2005, the CRTC would change their mind about what they said in 2001 and call for proposals regarding a national alerting system, which during it, Palmorix and the CBC submitted proposals for a national system. Bell would submit a proposal requesting the removal of consent required for the system. The CBC's proposal would give fed alerts via satellites to decoders installed in local CBC radio transmitters. It would also allow television providers to participate on a voluntary basis by installing decoders of their own, if the mentioned consent requirements were removed, of course. After this, the government would help make the Can Alerts initiative. So all was well, or at least it was, until 2007. In 2007, the CRTC would issue a public notice saying that they remove regulatory barriers to alert services and that they would take voluntary approach for radio and television broadcasters towards distribution of public alerts, which is basically saying, as I've said on Wikipedia, that they would reconsider the possibility for a mandatory alert system in the future. So this is it, right? There's gonna be no alert system until sometime in the future. So that's it, right? Well, if you're somehow thinking that, you'd be wrong, because 2 years later, in 2009, the CRTC would approve a different proposal by Palmorix to launch the National Alert Aggregation and Dissemination System, or the NAD system. In 2010, the NAD system would officially launch in Canada and would become the techno infrastructure for the National Public Alerting System, or the NPAS initiative in Canada. During a 2011 renewal of the must-carry status, the CRTC would praise Palmorix's work on this system. It's also be the same year that, as mentioned before, Alberta would switch their system to the Alberta Emergency Alerts, which was distributing alerts on radio and television. It would also now distribute alerts online and on social networking sites. This is how the alerts looked. Two years later, in 2013, the senior officials responsibility for emergency management, or SORM, published a common look and feel specification for alerts, and as a part of license renewal in May of 2013, CBC Radio agreed to have a alerting system using NAD by the end of 2014. Also, Environment Canada, the Canadian Council of Emergency Management organizations, and the provinces of Manitoba and New Brunswick endorsed the potential use of NAD framework as a backend for a mandatory public alerting system. In February 2014, the CRTC would issue a proposal to mandate participation in national alert systems by all television and radio broadcasters, with cable and satellite companies included. This mandate would be accepted. Also, the Wireless Public Alerting System, or WPAS, would begin a 3-year pilot project with the purpose to develop the use of LTE-based technology for emergency wireless public alerting. After all that work and research, on August 29th, 2014, the CRTC would announce that all Canadian broadcasters, including over-the-air television broadcasters, radio broadcasters, and broadcast distribution undertakings, must implement and participate in the NAPAS by March 31st, 2015, while communities, campuses, and abnormal broadcasters were given an extension to implement the system by March 31st, 2016. Now, if this announced, you may be wondering, where did the Alert Ready name came from? So far, we've been calling it NetPass. So when will the name appear? Well, let's get into that. In 2015, Pelmorex would launch a public awareness and educational campaign of the new emergency alert system. This campaign was branded Alert Ready. That would be the first time the Alert Ready name would appear. The next time it would appear would be for the official launch and test of the system. On March 31st, 2015, the alert system would officially launch and have its first ever test. In 2017, the CRTC would make phone alerts with the history done. Okay, 3, 2, 1. With the basic history done, let's get into the actual history on the screens themselves. The first screen you saw was called the red screen. There was no DAS-DEC screen, pop-up, or scrolling bar screen yet. Well, guess what? It's now May 5th, 2015, and during an Alert Ready conference, they would show off a prototype of what would become the DAS-DEC screen.
As you can see, we are now preparing a test. There will be a test.
The same day, they would launch the scrolling bar and pop-up screens. I'm going to show you those now.
This is a test of the Alert Ready National Public Alerting System issued by the Manitoba Emergency Measures Organization. This is only a test.
Then, in 2019, 2 new screens would be shown. The red screen was scrolling text, and the bottom pop-up message. I'll be showing both.
This is is a test of the National Public Alerting System issued by the Department of Municipal Affairs and Environment. This is only a test.
Stay home. Learn more at https://covid-19.ontario.ca. Freiner la propagation.
Now, mobile alerts weren't anything special, just being a notification. And yeah, that's literally it for the screens. Now, before I end this video, I want to go into what type of alerts there are. An alert can go off if there's a fire, natural, biological, hazardous, environmental, terrorist, or civil emergency. It can also go off if they decide to test the system. And other than that, that's it. If there's any updates, I'll probably make a continuation video. But until then, thank you for watching, and goodbye.